Good day, everyone. Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me in this presentation titled Back to the Drawing Board, How to Quickly Mock-up and Test Your User Application Interface Designs. This talk is aimed at fellow data scientists and statisticians who want to start implementing our Shiny applications in their workflow, but have a little to more background in web application development. Because I was in this position myself a few years ago, this topic is very close to my heart, and I hope that you will find presentation helpful and informative. For those who are new or newer to Shiny, Shiny is an R package which provides a framework for building interactive web applications using R. Its various implementations have quickly spread across industries where R is used, from e-commerce, research to big pharma. Since its initial release in 2012, a lot has happened in the community. Most notably, in 2023, Posit released its Python version of Shiny, which is called Shiny for Python. Also, just from May, we saw over 430,000 downloads of this package, which is another testament how fastly growing this community is. After all, you don't have to be a full-stack developer in order to create beautiful Shiny applications. So, how do we build Shiny applications? Many of us imagine this process to be rather straightforward. As programmers, we love to jump straight into coding, and we think that we can figure everything out just from documentation or going along the process. However, this is often a big problem. Why is that? Because in real life, problems require complex solutions, which nearly always lead to complex applications. Furthermore, we may think that we know what our users like and dislike and how they are going to interact with the application, without actually gathering their feedback properly. Which is why we should always present our initial designs to our users very early on in the development process, so that we are not wasting our time on developing features which our users will not use or won't even like. If we don't get clear on the final design, its interactive features, and the overall outline of our user interface, we may end up in a vicious cycle of having to undo hours of our work on the code base, or even breaking our application when the users request a new feature. This is what we are trying to prevent. And this is also why the prototyping stage is so very important. It ensures that all parties involved have a clear vision of the finished application product and that everyone is happy with the design. If we are lucky, we won't have any sudden new feature requests during the initial development stage as a result of careful prototyping. And even if we do, we have planned for a scalable application which can grow in its functionality without breaking the application's core logic. So how do we prototype a Shiny application? We can break this into rough 3 stages. In the stage 1, we should purely focus on developing the outline of our user interface. Go front end first. This is because it will help us to get clear on the final UI design and also test the overall layout quickly. We can also gather users' feedback early on in the process. This will allow us to observe how our users interact with the application. We can also then differentiate between essential features and nice-to-have features of our application. At the end, we'll be able to conceptualize the complexity of the end product, which is our application. In the stage 2, we want to add the interactive input elements. So think of your filters or your buttons. This is where we start outlining our data journey. Also, we want to decide where we want to implement our reactive as opposed to non-reactive elements. And we should start thinking about our applications in terms of standalone modules. This is only the stage 3 where we finally develop the rest of the necessary backend or our server logic. Now, the application development is not a linear process. Instead, we should think of it in terms of a controlled iterative process where we mock up a few ideas, get a user interface, alter the prototype, rinse and repeat. Now, this sounds like a lengthy and a resource-intensive process, which it can be if it's not managed carefully. So how do we keep this stage as time efficient and useful for the development as possible? How do we prototype well? The two packages I'm going to talk about today have been a truly game changer for me. They visibly accelerated the speed at which I can mock up shiny applications and bring them to my clients for feedback. The first package is called ShinyPsum, and the second one is called Fakeyear. Both packages were developed and are currently maintained by Think Our team as a part of their open source contributions. So from me, that's a big thank you. ShinyPsum package, as its name suggests, was inspired by a text placeholder, lorem ipsum, used in printing for typesetting. This package is an R package which can be used to generate a wide range of UI elements, all the way from random data frames or data table objects, graphs, which can be ggplot or plotly objects, digraphs, blocks of texts. It can even print mock statistical models or even give you random linear regression outputs. A big advantage is that it has a very simple syntax. Majority of the function calls start with the word random, underscore, and the name of the element that you want to generate. This is a truly versatile package, as we will see in the demo later. The second package, Fakeyear, is great for situations where you need to test interactive elements of your layout, but do not have the right dataset at hand. With this package, we can generate datasets for fake website visits, fake products, tickets, even answers to means of transport questionnaire, or a fake transport use dataset. Just like the previous package, Fakeyear also has a very simple syntax to follow. The function calls start with the word fake, underscore, and then the type of the dataset which you want to generate. While these datasets are very general and may not suit everyone's needs across all industries, they are still a great help when we want to test the data, filters, or application designs quickly. So let's bring these concepts into life with a small application example. Let's say that we have designed a simple dashboard and we clearly outline where we want our elements to go for our sidebar, graphs, tables, even our tabs. We are going to use this template to then create our layout in R. Here I'm using pure Shiny, but you can also use other supportive Shine packages for dashboard creation, for example. But the important thing is that we define the overall layout of our application. Now, all we have to do is to use our ShinyPsum package function calls to populate it with randomly generated elements. For example, here we are generating a digraph, a random bar chart, a random block of text, and then a random data table with 6 columns and 8 rows. As you can see, we are able to populate the entire dashboard with minimal code required. Additional benefit is that these generated elements can be further modified by packages such as ggplot or plotly. When we are happy with the UI design of our prototype, then we can focus on the elements that our users will interact with. Mostly, this will be your data filters. So let's use our Fakeyear package to create a fake dataset, which is going to contain information of some fictitious products. This dataset is going to have 100 rows. Then we can use this dataset to bring our input elements to life. So for example, here, I'm creating a drop-down selection, which my users can use to then filter for relevant rows of data. Then I can also use this dataset to introduce this new data processing logic into the server side of my application. Again, we are able to be very economical but efficient with our code. However, I have a small warning for you, which is that you should not expect your prototype to be pretty from the get-go. For example, this is what the application which the demo example code generated. It's quite plain, not very pretty, but it does get the job done. We can clearly see the planned outline of our design and what it would look like in the Shiny interface. We can always prettify this application later. What is important in this stage is to focus on getting the layout right. If you want to make our user interface pleasant or aesthetically pleasing, a bit of CSS styling sheet goes a long way. Or you can even use a variety of styling packages for Shiny, such as Fresh. So let's say that we are finished with the prototype and you have a well-defined both your user interface as well as the server side of your application. At this stage, you should always also have gained a good understanding of the user's behavior and the expectations, the app's complexity, and you can also predict potential pain points of the development stage. So how do we translate our prototype into an actionable MVP, which stands for minimal viable product? MVP is the simplest version of the product that needs to be built in order to satisfy the needs of early users. You can think of this as the next evolutionary stage of your prototype. Firstly, and most importantly, you should choose your development framework. You can either keep using vanilla Shiny code and purely use Shiny modules, or you can use other R packages such as Rhino or Golem, which were designed to support you in creation of enterprise-ready scalable applications. Then you should decide which features to develop first and in which order. You should use your knowledge of the user's feedback and their interactions with the dashboard to identify the essential as opposed to nice-to-have features. Also decide on the order in which you want to develop them and then introduce the nice-to-have features later. Do plan on building the application in modules. This is because modules are easier to develop, test, and grow. They're also easier to assign resources to, and then these modules can be used to track the overall progress of your application's development. Additionally, they allow us to keep the user interface and the server code light. Lastly, I would advise you to maintain visual representation of the application's architecture. It will help you to assess how far along you are in the development process and whether there are any features you may have forgotten along the way. They will also allow you to see how new features may be added into the core applications, how they will interact with the existing functionalities, and even as you make changes in one module, how those changes may impact behavior of other modules. Keep these designs as simple or as complex as it is necessary for your particular project. But most importantly, have fun with Shiny. As for my final summary, I would like to reiterate that if you want to do successful and time-efficient prototyping, you should use the UI-first approach to prototype the front end of your application. To do that, you can use the Shiny package to generate output elements to help you populate the mockup user interface layout, and the Fakeir package if you need additional fake datasets to test the interactive elements of your layout, such as the filters or your buttons. Please do take your time to plan and mock up your application first. Get very clear on what the final application design should be, what features you want to include, and how will the users interact with the application. Use the lessons learned from the prototyping stage to identify and plan which features to develop first and in which order, Modularize your application early on. Anticipate and prepare for the pain points you may encounter in the development stage. For me, that will be all. I hope that you find my presentation informative. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any question about the presentation materials or my Shiny Journal in general, please do not hesitate to reach out on either of the two of the following links. So again, thank you.